especially us autistics. We absolutely need to give ourselves permission to be our best self. Happy solstice!
That actually made me really spiritual. It made me have a really strong inner world. I learned to be really creative and absolutely make the best of them. And that has made me a real individual. And I'm really proud of all that. I'm proud of all my adaptations. I'm proud of my creativity. I'm proud of how I've overcome, I guess, really significant disability and really challenge development. As for autism, I think, I've overcome so much, and there's obviously, are you still autistic? Because people think that if I now have functional speech and I am, married, I'm happy, I have friends, therefore I'm not autistic. The broader life experience has shaped me too. Coming from a background of abuse and parents with serious comorbid stuff themselves, if not spectrum stuff themselves, those are not necessarily autism stuff, but those have shaped me too. Being a happy-go-lucky, really silly person, that's really shaped me. That's not necessarily because of my autism. And so I think that what autism has given me as well is an ability to actually tell the difference between condition and personhood and how they interact, and that they're not completely each other at all. That personhood can shine through autism and personhood can be shaped by autism, for the better, for the worse, sometimes combinations of both, and that I guess the whole person is, the sum total of that little dance between personhood and condition. So I'm not going to glorify autism in any one-size-fits-all way, because I've worked as an autism consultant since 1996. I've worked with over 1,000 people with autism, and they're so different, so many different fruit salads, so many different personalities, so many different families and influences. Some families who excuse them from everything and carry them and promote learned helplessness. Some families who are really good with boundaries and really motivating and insist on this person's inclusion and autonomy. Some personalities who will pick that up and run with it, and some who will give you hell and make sure that they can completely self-indulge along the way. So, I've just seen people with really severe kind of health issues and genetic issues, and I've seen people who don't have some of that stuff who were just as autistic. I've seen people with comorbids and people without, people with brain injury and people without. So I've seen a lot of stuff as an autism consultant, and too much to say that there's any one-size-fits-all thing about the positivity of autism. What I can say is there's probably something positive about anybody's autism, because in my experiences of autism, this won't be everyone's. I was very autonomous. I was the whole world. I was the whole family. No, I didn't feel other people understood what I was going through, and I couldn't communicate it, and I couldn't cope with their communication, which didn't mean anything. I couldn't even see them as a whole. So it was very challenging to, I was just with my own family, and it's done me really well. I also feel that being someone who was 90% meaning deaf until late childhood, and who couldn't visually process anything as a whole, this made me an artist. It really tuned me into music and nature and colours and contrasts and textures. I'm a real hands person. These are my eyes, these are my ears. And it's helped me in being a sculptor, in being a visual artist, in being a musician. And I feel that they're my non-verbal language. And my other language was from 9, I began typing using first letter strings, then word lists, and then by 11 to 13 I was typing poetry. And so this was my first functional communication, the use of language with meaning. And my verbal language mirrored my typing progress. So this, for me, is the foundations of the author that I became. I am, and the researcher, the person who can love written words, even though I have difficulty with language processing of written and verbal words. But the ability to actually use them to communicate is something that I have championed in the autism world and strongly support, and have had the honour of seeing so many wonderful, functionally non-verbal, beautiful writers. I could start reeling off the names, but I'd be afraid of who I'd leave out. But there's some just wonderful writers, and their depth, their humanity, their passion, their support of others who have had entrapment with involuntary behaviours, who have had really significant challenges, sometimes abuse, because they were non-verbal people with a whole lot of involuntary behaviours. These people are warriors, and I feel very strongly supportive of their expression in their journeys with autism. I feel often there's a lot of talk about, oh, my autism is gorgeous, my autism is fabulous, whatever. I have my personality. It's a fairly autistic personality. I think it's okay. But there's a whole lot of other autism stuff that for me has been about immune deficiency and brain injury and various, delayed development and extreme entrapment with involuntary responses, and but I have to still say there's been positives out of that for me as a soul. So, and I think we often forget that. We're so busy looking at the negative.